Hey VC, Big Star 1000 with a new installment of Revolutions, the series in which I share my playlists. Um, don't know if it's interesting to you, but at least I'm making an effort to make a video, which, you know, is always a positive thing, or at least I think it is. Yesterday I had a friend, a record nerd friend, over for lunch, and we played lots of records all afternoon. And thus, I'd like to share with you what we played, just for fun. At the moment, I'm playing Figure 8 by Elliott Smith. Yesterday, Saturday, today's Sunday. Last night, in fact, I did a Gimme 10 of the year 2000, and I included this in there. So, because it was out, I decided to play it. It's a fantastic record by Elliott Smith from the year 2000, and that's what I'm listening to. Yesterday, my friends and we just played a lot of different things, lots of interesting records. Some quiet, some loud, some electronic, some jazz. Whilst we were eating, or when he arrived, actually, I was playing Bosco when he arrived, which is a sort of a deep funk, political funk band from Chicago from the 70s. This is a mighty record. This is not the original, it's the Numero Group reissue from 2007. I was actually hipped by the guy behind the counter in this very cool record store in Melbourne called Northside Records. If you ever come to Melbourne, you must go to Northside. It's a funk soul jazz shop in Melbourne. And Chris Gill, who owns the store, put this in my hands, and he said, "Oh, have you heard this?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And, yeah, in 2007, when it was reissued, in fact, love this record. It's just a deep, funky jazz. I'm not funky, but sort of deep funk, and with some jazz leanings, obviously. Record. It's fantastic. So I was playing this, and then we had lunch, and over lunch we were just playing some quiet music. I decided to pull out this really nice, beautiful acoustic record. This is Lambert and Nuttycombe. There we go, and it's called At Home. It is probably the best known album, although I don't know if anybody actually knows anything of Lambert and Nuttycombe. This is a reissue on Klimt, and I would have never got this if I was in a store. I was in my local store from here, and I was browsing, and I just saw this record. It just caught my eye, and I decided to take a punt. It was very cheap, and it reminds me a lot of a kind of a Simon Garfunkel kind of vibe. Yeah, it's very gentle, beautiful music, beautifully executed, beautifully played. It reminds me like an older version of I don't know if you're familiar with Kings of Convenience, which is a band from Norway from the years 2000. They do a similar kind of a vibe, 2 acoustic guitars. Because with Simon Garfunkel you only had, Paul Simon playing. These are 2 guys playing. And then I kept playing some gentle things like I pulled out Another's Thought by Arthur Russell, which is a wonderful record. Arthur Russell, as you all know in the VC, was a New York cellist, but he was an avant-garde musician. He dabbled in every style of music imaginable. from disco to folk to dub to everything. He was a genius. Minimal music, electronic, a very conceptual artist. Of, you know, perhaps like a Steve Reich or a Philip Glass, but the pop music version of that, if you like. This is a wonderful record. This is a reissue from last year on Arclight. You can still get this. This belongs into any collection of anyone who claims to like music. It's a wonderful, wonderful record, and you would not be disappointed. It's mostly really Arthur Russell playing the cello and singing, which is an art form in itself. Like if you hear him, you know, because usually what people do is they have a piano and they sing, or they've got an acoustic guitar and they sing. You know, perhaps, you know, that's as far as it goes usually. But this guy plays plays cello and sings. You know, it's amazing. And then on the sort of a quiet vibe, I also played my friend the first track of this Yves Simon record that Chris for 137 Basket were generous enough to send me out. This is fantastic. This I've shown this about 3 or 4 times now, but I'll keep showing it. This is a fantastic record. The first track is amazing. It's called it's the title track, Raconte-toi. Raconte-toi, which means how would you translate that? It's a good question. Tell me about you. That's right. Tell me about yourself. Raconte-toi. You know. Yes. And since I'm on a French vibe, we also played another couple of French records. I was telling him about this really crazy band called the Nicolasville. This is a record from 1989. This was a very popular band in France in the late 80s, early 90s, and they're kind of like a gypsy punk kind of, you know, imagine a bit like a French Pogues, if you like. That's the best I can come up with. Really, yeah, very much like the Pogues, but a French version of it. And this is their most accomplished album, Mlah. M-L-A-H, Mlah. Fantastic record, and we played a couple of tracks from this, and he was laughing his ass off because it's a funny record. And then I played him a masterpiece, a French masterpiece, Alain Bachung, Fantaisie Militaire. There's the title of the album, Fantaisie Militaire. You can see it there. This is an absolute masterpiece. This is very reminiscent of, you know, things like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, kind of the Boatman Cole kind of period, you know, or Murder Ballads kind of. It's very dark, but it's very poetic, and you know the orchestration is amazing, and there's lots of really open acoustic guitars in the background with lots of you know, intricate arrangements. It's fantastic. Fantaisie Militaire, Alain Bachung. Alain Bachung died 2009 of cancer, but he's a well-known. And we played the first couple of tracks. The first track, Malax. Malax is amazing. Check that out. And then, you know, and then I also played. Since I'm on French, I'll keep on going on French. I played him a couple of tracks of this Ian Tiersen, which I was talked about last night in my recent vinyl finds. Is the guy who made the Amélie soundtrack, and this is basically his very, very first record, La Valse des Monstres, The Waltz of Monsters, which is a reissue, remastered version of the original album. Amazing, kind of, sort of minimal ambience, modern classical, played on toy piano, accordion, violin, all played by Jan Tiersen himself. quite a few of the songs on this feature in the movie Amélie. What do we got? Toy piano, accordions, drums, harpsichords, chimes, tubular bells. Just gives you an idea of the kind of music. There's no guitars, or there's not very much drums or bass or guitar. They're all those kinds of instruments. It gives sort of an orchestral feel to the whole thing. We played quite a bit of electronic music yesterday, starting with this Severed Heads album, which I showed in my recent vinyl finds. Again, if you missed that, the Severed Heads are a sort of a synth pop, progressive electronic band from Australia. They started their career in the 80s, throughout the 90s. They're still obviously going on, because this is a live recording from that was compiled from 1998 to 2005. Amazing sounding. On some of his tracks, they proceed to sound like New Order, which is quite a feat. I mean, amazing band. They're from here. They're from Australia. This is only been released on CD. Fantastic. So we started with this, the Severed Heads, and then I was playing all sorts of really bizarre, well, not bizarre, but interesting electronic things, like Pour That Sea Feel Kick, which was reissued last year. Was kind of a Aphex Twin meets My Bloody Valentine kind of a feel. 1993. Was released on 2 Pure Records and reissued by Light in the Attic under the umbrella Modern Classic Recordings. Fantastic. Sounds a lot like early Aphex Twin. Very repetitive, drawing-y, kind of, just like patterns that repeat. Played a bit of Stereolab as well, which I put the CD back in my rack. I'm going to show you this, but then I segued into a couple of LCD Soundsystem tracks. Funny enough, my friend had never heard of them, and I put it on thinking he'd heard of it, and he goes, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, it's LCD Soundsystem," and he was quite flabbergasted at how good this is. A fabulous album. I mean, this record is, from start to finish, is an amazing record. It's a modern classic for sure. It was released in 2007, and LCD Soundsystem was James Murphy, who owns the label DFA Records. This record is pure pleasure. It's a great electronic synth driven kind of modern masterpiece, really. And some older things that I played just for fun. Pour That Igor Vakievich, French minimal electronic composer. Liturgie du souffle pour la résurrection des morts. Hathor. Amazing electronic record in the vein of things like Held On, or with its Indian swastika, not a Nazi swastika, an Indian swastika. Fantastic record. Igor Vakievich was a French composer from south of France. Despite his Russian sounding name, or Eastern European sounding name, he's a French guy from Nice, south of France. And this is a fantastic record, one of his best. I think Dr. Faust would have to be up there as well. This is a record that was originally released in 1973. Well, this is the Funny Gina reissue, which is a Spanish label affiliated with Wawa. And also, since we were on electronic, Pour That Terry Riley, A Rainbow in Curved Air, which is the Terry Riley masterpiece, really. I mean, there's many of them, but this is really fantastic as a record. Some minimal music, minimal electronic. And then we moved to more like jazzy, reggae, kind of funky things. Actually, before I close this, we talked about Talk a bit, which I also showed you in my recent vinyl finds yesterday. We played Mark Hollis records, and we played Laughing Stock on CD. Compare them, because you were saying you loved this, but I played Laughing Stock the first couple of tracks, and he said, yeah, that he agreed that it was a great record too. So yeah, some jazzy things, some jazzy funky things. What did I put on? Let's just take them all in my hand so that put on Eddie Gale, Black Rhythm Happening, fantastic sort of spiritual free jazz. No, sorry, spiritual soul jazz. It's not really free jazz. It's a soul jazz kind of feel, vibe to it. Eddie Gale, that's from the year 1969. This is a truly amazing record. Black Rhythm Happening. If you haven't heard of Eddie Gale, just check him out on YouTube, and this is a fantastic reissue. My friend just was completely hypnotized, excuse the pun, because this is Philip Coran and the Hypnotic Brass Ensemble. I played him this and he just couldn't believe how good. This is like an sort of Ethio jazz. It's got a very Ethiopian jazz feel to it, but Philip Coran is a Chicago avant-garde jazz musician. You know, he was in the ACM, etc. And the Hypnotic Brass Ensemble is this 7 of his sons. He's got 8 sons, and 7 of them make the Hypnotic Brass Ensemble. So it's the whole of the Coran family on one record. Fucking amazing piece of music. Picked that up in probably 2012 or thereabouts. It's very cool. This is from 2011 actually. We played this neo soul band from Melbourne, Hiatus Coyote, which was released last year. Great bands. Features Q-Tip on vocals from A Tribe Called Quest. See the last track there. These guys are from Melbourne. They're a local band, very funky. It's neo soul. Lots of Fender Rhodes. Very, very funky band. They're on the cover of Wax Poetics about a year ago or something, which is where I discovered them. Bizarrely enough, they're from down the road, but it took me a cover of Wax Poetics to actually work them out. It's a bit sad, isn't it? We played some Reggae and Dub, and played Linton Kwesi Johnson, his first record, Dread Beat and Blood, which is on Heartbeat Records. This is the original US press of it. Fantastic records. Just Linton Kwesi Johnson as a Jamaican migrant to London, and he made lots of sort of dub poetry kind of records, and I segued the Linton Kwesi Johnson with some Serge Gainsbourg, some reggae Serge Gainsbourg, which I filed away. It's a CD of dub versions of his songs, but then I continued and I played him Requiem pour un con, which is this is the best of. I mean, I've got every Serge Gainsbourg record on vinyl just about, but this Greatest Hits is it's got some really amazing songs on it. So I just played a couple of tracks from there, Gainsbourg, and I'll just finish off very briefly. I also played my friend this Santana Lotus first side which I discussed at length yesterday, which is alive in 1973 in Japan, in Osaka, Japan. Santana, Lotus, amazing freak out records, on the par with things like Dark Magus or Live Evil or something like that. And finally we played Dragon Man, Leon Lau, Australian records from the 70s, very obscure, very cool records, just reissued on Strawberry Rain. That's all, just a few records, just wanted to share before I put them away. Thank you VC for watching, if you enjoy this, and until next time.